Alright guys, I wanted to start out with this picture. This is one of my favorite times of day. This is one of my favorite places to be and one of my favorite things to do. This is going to the racetrack at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is the drag strip event, Midnight Mayhem. They put them on, twice a month or so, especially in the summertime. And if you look at this picture, this is my Mach 1 in the parking lot getting ready for the races, and you can see how perfect of a night this is. It doesn't get any better than this at all. Warm summer night, the sky is changing from blue to purple to pink, the sun's down, but it's a really nice warm night in the desert here in Las Vegas, at the track in this picture. And this is one of my absolute favorite things to do. Go down and watch the races. You'll see later on here when I go and race my own cars here, but this is a place where I really am happy. I love going here. You hear the roar of engines in the background. The racetrack is backed by all those lights in the background. So you get to the racetrack and you can hear cars going down. You see the time board lighting up, and you just don't want to miss a second. You're there and you can hear all the cars rumbling and everything that people have been working on, and they put their cars together and they spend all this time, and everybody meets up there to show off their hard work. And I was definitely part of that with my own cars. I would drive down here to Vegas and race, and it was about a 2-hour drive for me. And I'll start out with some pictures here of that drive. This is here in the Mach 1. Pulled off on one of the freeway off-ramps real quick just to get out and show a picture of the gorge. This is the gorge, which is a huge canyon cut out to get from Utah to Vegas. And it was $1 million a mile to make this road. It's one of the most beautiful drives ever. And we drive through here, and on this trip down, here's a little shot of me and my wife in the Mach 1 with the beautiful time of day. It was just getting dusk, and I just had to pull off and get some video of just how perfect of a night it was. This was the best time to drive with the windows down and the radio all the way up, the sound of the V8. And here's some friends and me meeting up and driving down. You can see the white Mach 1 and my blue Mach 1 here, one of my favorite pictures, and some more shots going through the gorge. So you have a lot of turns, and you have a lot of times where it gets real deep in the canyons and dark, and then it gets light again, and then as soon as you make your way out, it's just a big straightaway and you just want to floor it. But there's a good chance that highway patrol's just on the other side, so you got to keep your foot out of it. And just after the gorge, halfway to Vegas, we always stop in Mesquite and get a treat, like the cookies and stuff. And this is the Walmart parking lot. Again, you can see it's turning into a wonderful evening. So here are some more nice shots of the evening. Just the most absolute best time to be driving. I love going down to the track, and on the summer nights, you just dream to go there and just enjoy being out with the cars. And these are just some of my favorite pictures of the drive down there. And sometimes it'd be later, it gets darker sooner and stuff, but here's a nice little sunset drive headed down to the racetrack. This is again in the blue Mach 1 on that same drive down here, but beautiful flat desert roads, and excitement, and knowing that you're gonna go see some races or participate in the races. So just wanted to start out by sharing some of these really cool videos and pictures I have of the actual trip to the racetrack. Again, look how the sky changes, that's my absolute favorite part, is how the atmosphere is just changing around you as it turns to the evening. Now here we are at the racetrack, and it's just a perfect time, the quiet before the storm. This is when you're showing up and everyone's in the staging lanes and getting teched out, and the track's just quiet, but it's warm. It's just the perfect time to be. Here's a cool shot of the staging lanes with the cars and their hoods up getting tech inspected and everything. Now on this particular trip down there with the blue Mach 1, we got there a little early, so we went to this spot. And if you look at the road, this is a I wouldn't say secret because a lot of people know about it, but this is where a lot of the street racing goes on in Vegas. It's near the racetrack. You can see that people have laid down their own rubber. You know, they light it on fire and get the road sticky and do a lot of burnouts. There's a lot of really cool race videos and a lot of really cool racing that's gone on here. And this is just right nearby. You can see me on the street. That street's actually called Azure, which is funny. It's the same as the Azure Blue in the Mach 1. But here I am at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, just enjoying being in the area before the races start. And after, this is a few shots on the drive home at night, just enjoying a nice desert drive. Got off at this off-ramp, took some pictures. This is one of my favorite drives home. Now here's a time where I went with my friends White Cobra, and here's him in the staging lanes, you know, getting ready to race. Another perfect summer evening. You can see how open and nice it is with the, you know, the parking area, getting ready to race. So on this particular trip down, we got there a little early, stopped at 7-Eleven and got Slurpees, and we went and got inside the track here. And you have to have your car tech inspected even if you're just parking inside the area just to watch. So here I am in there, and we found this blue Mach 1. So this is not my car, this is another blue Mach 1. And I had known about this car, and I had talked to the guy once at a show that was down there at the track once. But this is a really cool car. This is a naturally aspirated 10-second Mach 1. And the guy was really, really nice to talk to. He had seen me come in with my blue Mach 1, and I came over and talked to him, and he complimented me on how nice my car looked and liked my deep dish AFS wheels, and you know, and I talked to him about how cool his car was. I had seen his videos on YouTube running 10 seconds. He had told me how he could take the interior out of the car, and you know, he built the engine, and you know, it's still a 5-speed car, and you know, he's done all these things, and he could always put the car back the way it was because it's still a low-mile car. Anyway, cool conversation to have with a really cool guy who was very humble yet really fast on the track. One of my favorite things about going to the track, especially these events, is that these are all cars that you would see on the street. These are street cars. It's, you know, Midnight Mayhem is a thing that helps. It's an event to get people to quit street racing and go to the track. And so you'll go to the track and you'll meet people like this who are really cool, put a lot of work in their cars, really nice. You can make friends really easy with car guys. Here's another huge Whipple car. This GT had a 4-valve swap with a ginormous Whipple on it, and it was really fun to see it with the hood popped and walk up and see that underneath there. And so one of my favorite things about going to this event is you never know what's going to show up. Here's the 99 Cobra that had a bunch of work done to it. Here's a couple of Cobras, a Terminator on the right and a 99 on the left. Another Terminator Cobra convertible. Here I came across a blue Bullet. This is not my car. It was missing a C-pillar on one of the sides. It was the driver's side one that it was missing. It had a normal GT one over there and Terminator wheels. And I had seen this car for sale on Craigslist. He was asking a lot of money for it, but it was really fun to see the car listed and then all of a sudden go to the racetrack and there it was. Here's my Mach 1 looking off of the stadium. You know, a Trans Am with a lot of work done to it. I believe it was a turbo car. Another black Terminator doing a good burnout, about to run a fast pass. You know, here I am just enjoying the atmosphere at the top of the stands, looking out over the track and taking pictures of the cars down below. It's real fun to go to an event where these are actual cars that people drive on the road. They're street cars. They have to be registered and insured. You know, these are cars that people, it's what you would really find on the street, you know, driving around. These are like real life cars. Here's a low mile GT. I had talked to this guy a little bit on Instagram. Here's my friend's yellow Mach 1, not mine, but one just like the one I have now. Really cool 5.4 swapped car there. I had seen him on Instagram, talked to him in person a few times. I really enjoyed going and watching him race. It was a nitrous car, and then now I believe it's a big turbo car. One of the fast cars built with Voodoo Racing in Vegas, and I'll be talking about Voodoo. I remember talking to this guy. He's a friend of mine. He had a GT convertible, and then he worked at a car lot, and somebody had traded this Terminator in for a new Shelby GT350, and he was able to pick it up for a really good price. And so it was fun to see him at the track with this car, and you can see it still has the temporary tags on it. You know, this is right when he got it, and he was racing it. And we talked cars a little bit, and you know, ask him how it's running, if he has the right gauges on it, make sure it's safe, that he's not going to hurt the engine. Convertible Terminator with slicks on the back. You know, here's a Trans Am. I talked to that guy. He was pretty cool. You can see some Mach 1s ahead of him. That's actually Danny Johnson on the left and my other buddy Kent on the right with their Mach 1s when they were about to go down the track. And even in the parking lot, there's cool cars, you know. But here's a GT. Talked to him. Had a great time talking with that guy. He was running nitrous on this car, and he was in the Air Force, and Nellis Air Force Base is just right here next to the racetrack, so you get a lot of guys like him who are stationed there, who bring their cars to the track and have some fun. Another Mach 1 in the parking lot that you just come across with a 99 Cobra front bumper on it. And walking through the staging lanes, I found this 30th anniversary Trans Am, beautiful car, low miles. You know, it's one of those guys that just brought the car to watch. You still have to pay to get in if you want to bring your car inside, you know. But here's my cousin's Bullet in the staging lanes, getting ready to race down the track. My other buddy Jeff's red GT, and then some really cool cars like this yellow Cobra, one of the Voodoo Cobras. I'll be talking about the Voodoo Cobras in another video, but one of my favorite cars to go watch racing down the track. You can see GTRs and everything. Here's a Terminator of a really nice guy I talked to, and he ran real fast with that car. But you just never know what's going to show up. This is the first time I saw that yellow Cobra, known as Taxi. The big turbo 4-valve swap GT. And I really like this car. You know, between different events, I'd be home thinking about it, or I'd be at work and I'd think, you know, that's a really cool car. It's a GT. They've turned it into a 4-valve, big turbo. It ran in the 8s, maybe even the 7-second range. And it was a really cool thing to do with a car that wasn't like a Terminator. You know, a lot of these cars were Terminator cars, Cobras, stuff that were already fast. But it was fun to take something that wasn't as fast and turn it into something special. My buddy's Terminator, and another Whipple Terminator here who actually broke an axle. That's him, you know, with the car towed out to the parking lot. Danny Johnson and I had gone out and talked to the guy after he broke the axle, and Danny gave him some pointers and told him about his videos and how he could fix the problem. And it was really interesting to see a Cobra like this. It had the non-painted mirrors on it, but the rest of it was all there. So you never know what kind of cars are going to turn up. Just really cool LS1 cars, you know, another Voodoo Cobra, and another orange Voodoo Cobra. I love going and watching these guys race. Here's another really fun night where I went down with my friend's yellow Mach 1 and my buddy's 3-valve GT, and we just went down to the races, and they raced together and did a good job racing against each other for the first time on the track for them. You know, just a real fun evening. Again, a beautiful summer night, one of my favorite times to be out. Now this is a very special picture to me. This is the very first time I ever raced at the track. This is my Bullet in the staging lanes, getting ready to race. I was on street tires. It was my first time. I didn't know how it would act on the track. I knew the track had prep on it. You know, I was wondering how to stage, you know, do everything right. And this picture is just really fun because it brings me back to the first time I went down there and raced. I was a little nervous. My friends had talked about going to the track. I had a couple friends who had been before. I had never been. And I just really wanted to go down. And I really wanted to try it out. So you can see the lightning in front of me. That guy was there almost every time I went. It was really cool to see him there over and over and over again. And this was just a really fun time to start getting into the racing, and little did I know that I would have a real passion for this and going to this track all the time. And so my first few runs in the Bullet that night were in the 14s. It wasn't a very you know, fast time, you know, but it was a really good time. I would spin really bad in second and have to pedal it, and just kind of got used to the track and realized that if I want to come back and race, that it's really not worth it unless you have a good set of drag radials or slicks to come back with. So here's a picture of me coming down again with my friends, you know, driving down my buddy's silver GT there, and we're coming down to race again, back down to Vegas, and here I am with drag radials in the back seat of the car. And I would end up doing this almost every single event they had. I was down there with the Bullet. Now, I had bought the Bullet as a car to have fun with and race, and it was a high 13-second car at this time with headers and gears. And it was just so fun to go down there with the radials in the trunk, get there, use the car's jack, or sometimes I'd even bring my floor jack the car up, switch the wheels off, get there early enough that I could do all this wheel swapping, and then go find somewhere to stash my jack, my tools, and my stock tires. And I would, you know, go hide them behind a dumpster somewhere or something, and I would enjoy a whole night of racing. And then after the races, I'd, you know, get the jack out, take the wheels off, switch them back, and you know, just have a wonderful time doing that. And I did that, you know, several times. I had so much fun. Here's me and my buddy's Mach 1. There's the Bullet there with the number on the back window. And the Bullet did really well. You know, I wasn't trying to shoot for super low numbers. I was just having a competition against myself to see what the best times I could get out of the car were. You know, so here I am in the staging lanes with the 99 Cobra in front of me. Here's one with a Bullet with its drag radials on in the staging lanes, getting ready to race. You know, these staging lanes are so much fun. You're getting excited to make your pass, and, you know, hope you don't miss a gear or anything. You know, talking with people as you're waiting for the track to be ready for your turn. Here's a picture of me icing down the aluminum Bullet's intake manifold to try to get faster times. I take the bag of ice and leave it there and race, and then come back, and sometimes people would take the ice. It was funny. There's that taxi behind me. That's the yellow Voodoo Cobra that I'll talk more about later in another video, but it's kind of an iconic picture because he was a big racer at the time, and you can see him there in the staging lanes with us. And that's my cousin's black Bullet next to me, and we were just having fun racing each other, going down and, you know, launching different ways, trying different things to see what we could get the most out of our cars. Here's underneath the Vegas, the little staging lanes thing you go under right before you race. And here's another one of the Bullet wearing a different pair of Nitto MT-05R drag radials that my friend had. I thought I'd give those a try, see if I could get a better 60-foot with those. They were about the same. Here's my cousin's Bullet with some worn out drag radials on a pair of GT wheels. You know, just anything. It was just kind of a cheap combination to get down the track fast. And here I am with my friend's helmet on, because if you run a 1399 or faster, you had to wear a helmet. Here's a center console shot of my center console just full of time slips, you know, time after time after time, and just getting as many runs in as you can. Here we are in the staging lanes, you know, cooling down. And this Subaru here was a pretty good match for the Bullet. You know, I had heard the guy talking in the staging lanes, and, you know, kind of trash talking Mustangs, saying that his car made about 350 horse and he could make it down the track really fast. And, you know, Subarus and I kind of have a bad rivalry between us. I really haven't met very many Subaru owners who are, you know, cool about the Mustangs. It's kind of a tough subject because I know there are cool car guys in every element, but these guys like really like talking trash. And so I saw him in the staging lanes here. He was getting the car to cool down, and I saw him run a pass, and I thought, you know what, I think I can beat him. And so I ran out to the Bullet because it was cooling down, and I got in line because I had seen him getting in line, and sure enough, we got lined up next to each other, and it was on. I was just really excited for this race. Both cars were about evenly matched. He actually probably made a little bit more power than I did, but we got together, we got down the track, and lined up, and I smoked him. It was an awesome race. It was a pretty good victory for me with an evenly matched car. You know, there were other Subarus there that were faster than my car. I'm not saying I'm faster than everybody, but it was a good matched race. This was another good race against the Subaru. It was almost a new car at this time, and we were in the staging lanes getting tech inspected, and the friends were like, trash talking the Mustangs, and the guy's like, "Why would you ever buy a Mustang?" And so I was really excited to get lined up next to him, and I didn't know what mods the car had. I didn't know how good of a driver he was. It was a new car at the time, so I didn't know how fast they really were. So anyway, I was excited to get lined up next to him, and this was the race. Now, a 14.2 really isn't my best time, and it's pretty good for a Mustang and GT, down there at Vegas. But I mean, think about how slow the Subaru was. Then he ran like a 15. A point that needs to be made real quick too about Vegas is that it's 90 degrees when you're racing. Density altitude can be up to 5,000 feet or more, and they say that the Vegas track is about 1 second slower times than what you would run at sea level. So a 14.2 is actually a pretty good number. So here we are with my cousin's Bullet and mine. We just race all the time together. Bright tangerine orange GT. I talked to the guy. And here's the Shelby Museum right next to the track. They have a new location now and they've moved, but this was a really fun place to go hang out before the races would start. And this is where I would like to trade my tires out a lot. And this is a really important picture to me here because my friend had his Mach 1 with 373s, and he wanted to race the Bullet with the heads, cams, and 410s is what I had at the time in the built bottom end. And you can see my dad standing there by the Bullet. You can see how he has the Suburban there with the back open. We brought the jack and the tools and everything in the Suburban that time. And this was a really important race for me because he was there to support me. He didn't come to many of my races or anything. I didn't really invite him. I didn't I didn't want to put him out and make him come all the time, but it's a really important picture. Him and my mom came that night to record us and watch us and everything. And the reason it's so important is because my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and so it's really nice to look back and see this time where he was there to watch me race and be with me. He was a aircraft mechanic and a pilot with over 6,500 hours, so the stuff he did was farther beyond what I've ever done. I flew a little bit and I soloed when I was 17, but I mean, the stuff he was into was just so much higher end than me, but it was cool to see him take some time out and come watch me and support me in the things that were really important to me at the time. So Vegas will always be important to me for that reason too. So here we are, taking turns with the jack, getting the radials swapped out, getting ready to race. And we had some time to kill before the races, and so we went down and drove around that cool area where all the street racing goes on. Here I am in the Bullet parked on that area, and you can see the stop sign is all spray painted and tagged up with stickers and things. It's kind of a rough neighborhood, but it's a cool place to go and see where all these street race videos have taken place over the years. So here we are back at the racetrack. Again, it's a beautiful night, just warm, perfect time to be out racing. And here's the race between my friends, Mach 1 and my Bullet. Now this was another really good race against a 6-liter GTO with Bullet, and at the time the Bullet was just exhaust and gears.
Nice. Can go against the GTO.
Now pay attention and listen to how fast these shifts are in the Bullet. I'm quite proud of that.
1396.
Ooh, is that
So getting into the 13s was really exciting for me. You had to wear a helmet if you got into the 13s, and that was fun to race LS2 GTO. And not every car that's faster than you is going to beat you at the track. There is a lot that goes into it. So here I am with my helmet on, excited that I'm racing. And here's some of the time slips that I was accumulating after all these trips to the racetrack. So going to the racetrack became my new favorite thing. Here's another picture of me and my friend's 95 GT headed down to the track. You can see me putting tire pressure back into the Bullet, since I would drive down on the drag radials, drop the tire pressure, and then have to put air pressure back in to drive the 2 hours home. It was real fun to have drag radials that were DOT approved. You could drive down on them. And, so here's another time I was switching out the radials. We're meeting my cousin. You can see the two red Mach 1s here. One of those is my cousin's, and the other is Danny Johnson's. And you could see my blue Bullet on the left and his black Bullet in the garage. And he was taking the black Bullet that night to race. And my cousin and I, we really bonded in this time. We had our Bullets, and we'd go down to the racetrack together. Here he is, being excited to race. We're in the staging lanes together. McDonald's at 4 a.m. on the way home, and then getting home and having the numbers written all over my window, and here's us at the track. This is him doing a burnout, and then me next, just running one after the other. And he was doing really well. He was running low 14s with a stock Bullet, and I was running, with headers and gears, I was running in the high 13s. And we all laughed and said that his car was a factory freak because he was able to get really good numbers and keep up with modded cars. And this is a little lineup here of my friend's New Edge Mustangs. This was a really important time for me. I had a good group of friends here with 2-valve GTs, New Edge Mustangs, and they were all trying to get into the 13s. I was getting into the 13s with the Bullet. The one on the far left, that True Blue one, was supercharged, and he was pretty quick, but it was fun because this was an era where the New Edge Mustangs were still pretty new and people loved them, and they were down there in good shape. And some of these friends had moved on and bought Coyotes and Shelbys and stuff, but it was a real fun time to be together and to be racing. And I had a Mach 1 that was faster, but this was what I wanted to do. This was my project, to get the Bullet as fast as I could, try to get Mach 1 times out of it, and I was doing really well with the car. I wasn't trying to shoot for 10 seconds or anything. I was just trying to get some nice, respectful times. I think it's really fun when you have a battle against your own time and you don't care about what other people are running, and you go down there for yourself to improve. And I really fell in love with doing this. It was just so much fun. It was fun to do the burnout and get in the staging lanes and just race down the track and try to hit every gear just right. And the Bullet did really well. For a car that I had bought with 126,000 miles on it in kind of rough shape, I was slowly fixing it up and modding it and enjoying it, and I didn't really worry about breaking it too much. And here's Danny Johnson here at the racetrack. I had that cool picture. And again in the staging lanes. This is getting to the track another night, with the hoods popped and getting ready to race. Here's some more staging lane pictures, having fun. The gas station nearby is always fun to go to as well. But sometimes there are accidents. This Coyote got slammed into the wall. The guy lost control and went each way and just totally destroyed the car. So we'd go see it on the flatbed as it left. Las Vegas is very important to me for other reasons too. This is the night I bought my Bullet, and this is a recreation at the same place later, coming home from the races one night. This is the night I bought my Bullet with Danny Johnson, and this is the day he bought his Terminator, also out of Las Vegas. And this is a picture here of my cousin getting his black Bullet. He met the guy down in Vegas. And a shot of my blue Mach 1 as we're going to get Danny Johnson's Cobra in Vegas. And here's Danny's Cobra leaving Vegas after he bought it. So we love to go down there. This shell right here is right next to the pick-apart, which is near the racetrack. So sometimes if we're early, we'll go down there. It's always fun to see what kind of Mustangs they have there and what good parts there are on them. And sometimes we'll make a trip out of it if we need something for the cars, and then we can go to the races as well. Something else we like to do while we're down there is visit Voodoo Racing Innovations and look at all the cars. They usually have a lot of Terminators there. They've been known to build those. And so here's a couple shots of visiting Voodoo and seeing their cars and their 7-second Terminator and stuff. And so we always like to go visit there too if we have a little extra time, and I'm going to talk more about that later. This Bullet was parked out there by Voodoo too. I thought that was cool. It was dark Highland green with Idaho license plates. And I really like this cool gas station pic after the races at night. You see all these Mustangs in here, and we're all getting along and having fun and asking each other how we did and stuff. It was a good fun time. Now, the racetrack isn't always good things though. Here's a time I was at the track and I had a bad tune from American Muscle, and it pre-detonated my engine. So here's spark plug with a smashed ground strap from pre-detonation, destroyed my engine. It was a really long night sleeping in the car at the gas station near the racetrack and being up for 27 hours basically by the time Danny Johnson got his truck and the trailer lined up. And you can see I was really tired and upset about that, but that's what happens when you race. There's the piston with the ring line blown off and pre-detonated. So that led me to another side of Vegas that I hadn't seen yet, and that would be the dyno tuning. Once I got a new engine put in and everything down in Vegas, it was fun to get the car dyno tuned. Wanted to make sure that never happened again, make sure that the car was running safe. Even naturally aspirated, that should never have happened, but it was a bad tune. There wasn't really much I could have done about it. And I've watched people break their cars. This is an axle that broke on a Terminator. This car had a ported Eaton and nitrous, and he launched and snapped an axle and did a nitrous backfire, flames underneath the car. I'll have a story about it later. A funny story about that though was I was in the grandstands with my friends getting ready to watch the races one evening before they started, and a guy came out and he was getting the track prep ready with another guy. They were workers at the track, and one of them said to the other, "You know what this track does? It finds the weakest part of your car and it breaks it." And I laughed so hard, my friend laughed. They didn't know we were listening, but it's the truth. You go and take your car there and you build it up, and it's going to find the weakest part and break it. Here's a white Mustang getting towed away after it broke at the track. And while we're on the subject of cars breaking, this was a night that I was at the track with Danny Johnson in the Blue Mach 1, just watching the races, having a good time. You can see I'm showing my ticket in this picture. It was a fun night, and my buddy's Cobra was parked there, and we found him, and we all decided to go home that night, and he wanted to do some highway pulls against a green supercharged GTO that was a friend of ours. It's on the far right there, and I'll have a story on that car later with more details and how this all went down. But basically both cars broke on the freeway on the way home. Big smoke cloud of oil covered my friend's new Camaro all over the front of it, and I was behind in the Blue Mach 1, and so we were on the side of the road, and it was a long story, but here's an instance of being on the highway, that highway that I love so much, and being on the side of it for a while until we could get trailers lined up and get both those cars towed home. So then after a lot of work, I got my Bullet all back together, and it was supercharged now, dyno tuned, ready to go, and we made a really fun trip down to the racetrack. And this was the last time that I had raced it, and I had a wonderful time. Here it is in the staging lanes, getting ready to go. Again, a wonderful evening. Everything was just right. The car performed just great. It ran flawlessly. I got 3 good passes out of it. The best was a 12-1 at 116, and here's a little video of that. But I know the car was good for 11s, but it was such a good pass. I was just happy with it, and that's all I wanted to do. It was the first time at the track after I fixed it, so I didn't really want to, risk breaking it, and I was happy with those numbers. I always laugh at this. This is right before one of my last races, and my sister showing up late, walking all the way up the stands.
That's Justin. My calves are burning.
And you can hear my little boy excited. something I really enjoyed was I pulled over on the way home because my trunk was open. I had the slicks in the back, and I stopped to close the trunk and get out of the car, and I just stood there and listened to the car idling. And it was just really awesome to be in the desert and hear the car, you know, have the glow of the tail lights, the cams thumping. It was just a really awesome experience on that highway that I love so much. So after that, I sold the slicks to these guys with a white S550, and I was done racing for a while. But I still really love going down to the racetrack, and you know, here's the next time I took the Red Mach 1 down to go watch with Danny Johnson. Driving around, this is actually near one of the pick-a-parts. We were there a little early, so we went and checked out some car parts, ate at In and Out here, and then here's the sign that says Mayhem Racing, you know, this way, and so I stopped for a cool picture there. Well, I really hope that I've captured all this in a good way that you can see how much this means to me and how fun it is and how cool this experience is and all these experiences at the track. I'll leave you with this clip of my cousin's Bullet racing my friend's supercharged Kenny Bell GT. You can see him catch him at the end. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.